Hello and welcome back to more Films Under Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week we're taking a look at the 2013 smash success hit film Man of Steel.
You know, you could have just replaced downright awful with Man of Steel. But okay. I'm surprised I don't think we got a title drop in this one.
I don't think we did, no.
But anyway, so this movie premiered at the Alice Tully Hall on June 10th, 2013, before being inflicted on the masses on June 14th, 2013. It cost about $225 million and made $668 million worldwide.
This is the first film that we've done, directed by good old Zack Snyder.
I call him Hack Snyder, but anyway. So we have a returning screenwriter. David S. Goyer wrote this. Can you guess what he co-wrote on this podcast?
Was it the Nolan Batman movies?
Yes, yeah. He co-wrote Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. And he wrote the story of The Dark Knight Rises, but left that movie to do this. He also co-wrote Batman v Superman.
Oh, good.
Which, if that's any indicator, it means that Nolan was what made the Dark Knight movies work and not him.
Yeah. Speaking of Nolan, he does have some involvement with this film.
Wait, was he a full-fledged producer on this, or...?
Yep, and on the Wikipedia page it also lists him under the story by section.
And, like we mentioned, yeah, Hack Snyder directed this.
It definitely shows.
Which we've mocked this guy a lot on the podcast, and while not recording, and personally, I can't stand most of his movies.
I haven't really seen most of his. I've seen his DC stuff. I saw that Legend of the Guardians, and then I've seen 300.
Yeah, 300 was terrible.
Yeah, 300 was
It
awful.
Wasn't as bad as Sucker Punch, at least, but it wasn't good. I do like Watchmen, though, I'll admit that. But aside from that, I'm not really huge on the guy's work, and okay. But again, I'm not planning on doing any more Zack Snyder movies on this podcast. The cast, we actually have a good cast here, I'll be honest.
I know, it's a little shocking.
And all of them are appearing on this podcast for the first time, too, which is a little surprising. Considering some of the names here. So, we have, Henry Cavill as Bizarro.
So I honestly think that Henry Cavill, at least the way he looks like Superman.
He does, yeah. He's a good casting choice.
And I feel like given a better script, he would have done a really good job with it.
He was actually considered to play Superman in Superman Returns.
Huh.
Before they cast Brandon Routh. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. A lot of these casting choices, like, you look at the casting choices, there aren't any here that are making me go, oh, that's a bad choice, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, these choices make sense. What went wrong?
Yeah. Well, we know what went wrong. It's that it was a film made by Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Amy Adams as Lois Lane, which, again, another choice where you're like, okay, that's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
You know, for that part. Michael Shannon as General Zod.
It's a very interesting pick for General Zod, I would say.
I think he was a good choice. You know, he's got like those really like an intense presence and those like huge eyes of his. I could definitely.
Yeah, I just would have expected someone a bit more like huge for the role, with more of like an intimidating kind of just body, I guess.
Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent, which again, not a bad choice. You know, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
All of this just make me think it's like, how do I fit in a Waterworld reference into this podcast? Diane Lane as Martha Kent.
Yep. That is a name that causes me intense psychological damage.
Because of the next movie, I know.
Yes.
God, that scene is so fucking stupid. Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep, as Perry White. Every time I just forget that he's in these movies.
I forgot he played Perry White in this. Like, I knew he was in it, but I was like, he plays Perry White in this? Wow. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne, again, not a bad choice, you know. Morpheus in a Superman movie. Maybe he should have played Jor-El. I don't know.
That would have been interesting.
I guess, yeah, Superman would be half black then in that case. But speaking of Jor-El, Russell Crowe plays Jor-El.
Yep, they took a pretty similar route that they did with the original Superman in casting Jor-El, getting like an older, experienced actor.
Yeah.
Except they didn't top bill Russell Crowe in this one.
No, they did not. I guess they're like, oh, Gladiator was a long time ago.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Maybe they were disappointed with his performance in Les Mis. I don't know. And again, that makes sense. He makes sense as, you know, Jor-El.
Yep, it's a pretty good casting choice for the character.
They squandered some actual talent here with this movie. Oh, and speaking of that, we have a returning composer.
Yes, we do.
Hans Zimmer, making this his 5th time composing a movie we've done on a podcast on. And I will admit, I think the score is pretty good.
I actually, the score, in my opinion, is just okay. It's mostly forgettable. I don't really remember any of it. It works, but it's nothing really that great, in my opinion.
Maybe it's just because the rest of the movie was, you know, so I was like trying to latch onto something, but I honestly, I think it's one of the better things about this movie. Actually, I did miss hearing the iconic John Williams theme, though.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good score for what it is. Okay, so before we get into our initial thoughts, I want to point something out. I only agreed to do a podcast on this movie on several conditions. With those conditions basically being that we wouldn't have to do any of the other DCU movies. and you agreed to those conditions.
Yes.
So.
I'm agreeing until Flash comes out.
Until Flash comes out. Oh my gosh. Okay, so initial thoughts. I'll let you go first on this one.
So, I actually do have a little bit of an experience with this film. I saw it probably a year after it came out. I had seen, obviously, the Superman cartoon from the 90s. It had been a while since...
played by Clancy Brown.
Yes. And I remember we rented it from Family Video. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep halfway through, and it was one of the most boring movies that I ever saw.
Did you manage to stay awake the whole time, or did you fall asleep during it again?
I barely managed to make it through this one. This was hard. And here's the thing: it's about a 2 hour and 23-minute movie. It feels like a 5-hour movie.
It kind of does in parts, yeah.
It was... It's long, it's kind of boring, and the parts where something happens, it's like, it's just not exciting. There's no real weight to it. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's just a blech movie.
I will say, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a great depiction of a psychotic mass murderer. Yeah, no, this movie sucks. My initial thoughts, the first time I saw it, my family rented it from Family Video, so kind of similar to your experience. I didn't fall asleep during it. I might as well have, but I didn't hate it like you did, because you have this vendetta against this movie. But I didn't really care for it when I saw. I just remember watching it, just thinking it was just kind of. It was overly serious. It just the epitome of mediocrity.
That is a very fair statement.
And then I guess I saw a bunch of reviews of people bashing it, saying it was horrible, so I was never sure if I actually thought it was that bad and other people's opinions were influencing me, or if I actually just did think it was that bad, but yeah, I don't think this movie is as bad as Batman v Superman, but it might as well be. It is just astoundingly bad, like, just very boring, horribly directed.
The color's weird.
Yeah, I can't stand the color grading in this. It's like all blue and gray and just looks awful.
It's weirdly depressing most of the way through the movie.
Basically, the problems I have with Zack Snyder's other movies, you know, all the bad color grading, the overdramatic flourishes, poor editing. Rewatching this, it really... the structure of this movie is so bad. Like, it really just has no flow to it. And also, this movie is just so cynical and heartless.
Yes. Guys, what it honestly feels like is Zack Snyder watched the Dark Knight trilogy and then was like, oh, okay, so everybody likes edgy, they like dark. That's what we're gonna do for Superman.
But then he completely missed, like, the point of, like,
yes,
character development or nuance or structure.
This feels like an edgy teenager's attempt at making something dark.
Yeah, it really does. Like, Superman in this movie is basically a sociopath. Like, just no charisma, doesn't seem like he cares. And I did try to go into this one open-minded, you know, not compare it too much to the Christopher Reeve movies. And look, I'm not a Superman expert or anything, or even a comic book purist. This is just a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. I should ask, did this movie make you sick? Was this another one of those movies where after you watched it, you got a cold or something?
So I'm going to be honest. I have had a horrible stomach pains ever since I woke up this morning.
Oh, no.
I think it did. I think this movie did make me sick.
Oh, oh, man. Okay, so getting into recapping the movie, which I have a feeling this is going to take a while. We start off with a scene on Krypton.
And we get to witness the birth of Kal-El.
Which, I will say, about Krypton, I didn't know they had CGI ultrasounds. It's all in, like, it's in this, like, gray CGI liquid that makes shapes or something.
Yeah, weird probe thing.
It's so bizarre.
And already there's something I would like to point out with this scene.
Oh no.
So we get some more context to this later that fills it out more. But this is essentially the first thing where they're trying to compare Superman to Jesus, which they love to do throughout this movie.
Oh God, I didn't know. Yeah, just
Because
let it all out.
so we'll get to more of the points as they come up, but this first one here is Superman, or I guess Kal-El, is given a natural birth, whereas every other person on Krypton is birthed through like genetic engineering and these weird
Unto
pods.
you, a child is born.
Yeah, and so it's like it's a unique birth, it's a real birth, and so they're setting apart that he's special even among the Kryptonians, and it only gets worse from there.
I didn't know if we were gonna bring up like the fucking subtext to some of this, but okay, I guess you'll be the one doing that.
It's so it's like Zack Snyder sitting next to you, hitting you over the head with a hammer, saying, "Do you get the symbolism?"
There is one scene I remember where, yeah, they kind of do that, but with the whole Jesus thing. But yeah, because that is one thing some people have like mentioned about Superman is he's like he's the chosen one or whatever, just like the same thing with fucking Anakin Skywalker in the prequels,
Yeah.
He's like he was also born of a virgin birth or whatever. But anyway. Also, Krypton kind of looks like Wakanda in this.
I'm gonna be honest. I hate the design of Krypton in this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because this is what 300 would have looked like if it was set in space. Everything's dark, it's gritty, everyone's got these, like, steel plates that they're wearing.
Okay, I will admit there were a few parts where I felt like the actors were kind of acting like some of the Spartans in 300.
I'm pretty sure at one point Zod even yells, "This is madness."
Like, this guy I wrote it down, that when Zod's like attacking people, one guy asks him, I think it was Jor-El. It said, I don't remember, but he says, "What are you doing, Zod? This is madness." And when I heard that, I was like literally expecting Zod to say like, no,
madness.
This is Krypton or something.
But yeah, I hate the design of Krypton in this movie. It feels grungy, because, like, the way Krypton, and we really shouldn't be comparing it to the first one all that much, but the way they showed the first one was almost like a utopia, but they were just ignorant to
stuff,
but they were just ignorant to their problems. In this one, the whole planet looks like a hellhole.
To be fair, the planet is dying.
It still just looks grody and just kind of gross.
It doesn't really look
though.
like a place you'd want to live on, yeah.
No.
That being said, okay, I'm going to be honest, I kind of enjoy the beginning of this movie because it felt like I was watching a terrible science fiction movie.
That's exactly what I wrote down on some page of my notes, that this opening scene, it just looks like a generic sci-fi action.
Which movie. I like a lot of generic sci-fi action, so just like it was the only point of this movie where it came close to having any kind of charm to it. But I will say though, the costumes are just, oh my lord, like especially on the Krypton Council, like what the fuck are those costumes?
Yeah,
because they got those like beads, like coming off them, or like nets. I don't even know how to describe them.
And again, like I was saying, how this is just 300 in space. That's totally what like Xerxes would have been wearing if it was a sci-fi movie.
One character in 300 that's wearing. Yeah, I remember that. Is 300 better or worse than this? Oh my god.
Oh god, I don't want to think about that.
300 does have like some parts which are funny bad.
And at the very least, it ends before Man of Steel does.
It ends before the 2-hour mark, if I remember right.
Yeah, just before.
Yeah. I mean, you have fucking Gerard Butler, like, overacting, and that's pretty fantastic. Then again, this one has Michael Shannon overacting, but we'll get to that. So Jor-El is basically it's the opening of the fucking first one. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Jor-El trying to warn the Krypton Council about the planet's destruction before General Zod attacks. Well, I guess in the first Superman movie they were putting them on trial. They don't show the attack, but and my god, the dialogue. The fucking
awful.
dialogue, it is so overindulgent. Like, just a lot of this movie is just exposition or purple prose. Like, just
It's so bad. And so they're like trying to take like, I guess like kill the council or whatever.
yeah, they're shooting people with ray guns, and again, this is just feeling like a bad sci-fi movie.
And then Jor-El turns out to be some sort of badass warrior that takes on these fully equipped people and gets away.
You forgot he gets on this winged creature.
Oh yeah, he jumps off and then there's this flying thing with like 4 wings.
So much fucking CGI in this. And again, I was kind of enjoying some of this just because of how ridiculous it was.
And as he's flying,
It
you
was
can see
reminded me of the some of the scenes from like the Star Wars prequels, like just
and so when he's flying around on that winged creature, you can see there's just a massive battle taking place everywhere, and it's just like, how many followers did Zod have that he did this?
And also, I was noticing Jor-El doesn't seem concerned enough that his planet is dying.
Not really. Like, he's somewhat concerned, and that is why he decides to save Kal-El, but he kind of acts like he's like, Krypton deserves this.
Like, Russell Crowe really wasn't, like, bringing his A game to this.
No.
And that was one thing I was going to point out. I know we've criticized Marlon Brando a bit on this podcast, but in that first Superman movie, he does seem like he's really concerned about the planet coming to an end.
Yeah, he's at least acting.
You know, yeah, well, barely, because he's reading off the cue cards. But, yeah. Hell, maybe Russell Crowe was doing the same thing. Yeah, Russell Crowe, I was just like, and he's a good actor, too. I've seen him in other stuff, and he's good.
Yeah.
But here, I was just like, he just seems kind of bored, you know. So Jor-El goes into the Matrix tanks.
Yeah, and you just see all these
literally every set,
bubbles of
every costume,
babies.
every special effect during the opening of this was making me think of some other sci-fi movie.
It's all just stolen ideas that are stapled together.
And hell, not only are there the Matrix tanks in this movie, but Morpheus himself is in this movie later on. But okay, so he finds his baby. He finds a magic skull.
Yeah, and so this is supposed to be the Codex, which, as we come to learn later, contains the genetic information of every infant on Krypton, I think. It's a little confusing, and we'll get back to that later when it's like mentioned. But
yeah, they don't explain things very well in this movie. It's just exposition, you know, just being thrown at you 100 miles an hour, so you can't keep up with it. I will admit there are some good visuals here.
It is at least interesting to look at the incubation.
I really hate the color grading in this, but the CGI is good. So then they put their son Kal-El in the escape pod and set him loose.
Not before Zod stops on by and try to convince him to not do that.
Yeah, Zod confronts Jor-El, and again, more exposition.
And Zod gets his ass handed to him by Jor-El, who puts on like a battle suit, I think.
There is a funny line delivery that Michael Shannon...
I know which one you're talking about.
Heresy! Destroy it! But yeah, and they get into this... Oh my god, this fight was laughable. It was so dumb. Like, just...
Because Zod just gets his ass beat.
Another thing, the editing in this is so fast. Just, it's like cut like every 3 seconds. It's just too much. It's overkill.
And so we kind of get Zod's motivation
Oh, and
a
Zod
little.
stabs Jor-El, who barely reacts to this.
He like doesn't like at all. It's just like, come on, Russell, at least like wince a little bit.
A little more effort, yeah. I guess it really was just a paycheck for him or something. Or maybe he's not concerned about it because his son is getting away, so he's like, yeah fuck you guys.
And so Zod is then put on trial.
He gets sentenced to reconditioning.
In the Phantom... I assume he's going to like a Phantom Zone type thing.
This scene... okay, this is one thing I will say in this movie's favor. Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
Okay, this movie... Zod is not a very well-written character or well-rounded character, but Michael Shannon is just going full-on Nicolas Cage during parts of this, like just going so over the top. And I especially, this line delivery, every time I see it, every time I hear it, it just kills me.
I will find him. I will find him, Lara.
I will find him!
Michael Shannon, he knew what kind of movie he was in at that point. You know, he's just like, okay, might as well. I'll pull in a Jeremy Irons and Dungeons and Dragons, just ham it up. And then they freeze them in some crystal things, and I guess get sent to the Phantom Zone.
Yep.
Which looks like a jellyfish. Does it not?
It kind of does, yeah.
Just everything about this is just so over dramatic. Like, good lord.
And once this is finished, we just hard cut to following Kal-El's pod as it crashes onto Earth.
Then we cut to Henry Cavill, who is on an episode of Deadliest Catch.
He's on this boat that ends up getting a distress call to a burning oil rig.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, we at least get a part where he's doing Superman things. He's going out and saving people.
Yeah. They're like, oh, let's show Superman in the real world. You know.
Although one question I did have,
just why did he only have one question about this movie?
Why did he decide to just take off his shirt before going in?
That's a good question, yeah.
Because you see him at one point all dressed up to be on the fishing boat, and then next thing he's like walking up the side of the burning oil rig, just no shirt on.
Guess he wants to be like Rambo or something, I don't know. I don't know. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that doesn't really make sense. And one thing I will say, Henry Cavill does overact a bit in this.
Yeah, every now and again.
He'll give this like really over dramatic yell here and there,
yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know. And he gives one in this scene. And then we get a flashback to, oh my gosh, and that's gonna be a lot of this
common.
Just, and then we get a flashback. There are so many fucking flashbacks in this. I forgot how annoying the structure of this movie was.
Yeah,
it happens so damn often. Usually for no reason. It doesn't really enhance the story.
Not really. It's you could have put this all in chronological order, and it would have made just as much sense as it would flashing back. So it flashes back to him as a child, basically having sensory overload because his X-ray vision's on, he's got super hearing.
Yeah, and this scene's kind of creepy too.
It is.
He's seeing like
X-rays
it's a little of people. It feels more like a scene from a horror movie.
And it's kind of weird because it makes it feel like he's some like tortured soul, essentially.
Yeah. He just runs and hides in a closet. His eyes
his mother
turn
has
red. He also makes the doorknob really hot.
Yep, he used his heat vision.
Which that made me wonder what Home Alone would be like if Damien from The Omen was in it. But yeah, this was a weird scene that doesn't really go anywhere. Okay.
Yeah, again, it's used to build up one thing later in the movie. But it's so minor there that it's like, why even bother?
You know, maybe this would have been more interesting if it was just the origin story and they didn't try to include all this other shit in it. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, because, you know, hey, that's an interesting concept there. Care to expand on it? Nah,
No.
let's just add it in because it's kind of cool. That's really Zack Snyder's thought process, isn't it?
It really is. It's style without substance.
Exactly, yeah. Well, let's just add it in because it's kind of cool. So yeah, we cut back to the present day. Clark steals somebody's clothes. Our hero, everybody. That's far from the worst thing he does in this movie, though, to be fair, but...
And he ends up seeing a school bus, which causes another flashback.
Another fucking flashback. Okay, that is too abrupt. Give us a few more minutes before you do this again, movie. We cut to young Clark on the school bus. And they are skipping a lot of Superman's backstory.
Oh, definitely. It's like we're showing you the bare minimum of what we need to.
For all we know, this could be some other lunatic. Maybe he is. Maybe that's a fan theory. I don't know. But yeah, Clark's on a school bus. The bus crashes into a river. And then in a scene with a lot of shaky cam, Clark saves them and then swims away.
So one thing I want to mention here, there's just a bit of a confusing cut. So when they show the school bus, it's in the middle of
wait, sorry. There's just one confusing cut in this movie.
So they show the school bus driving, and it's the middle of the country, just cornfields for miles. Then it cuts to inside the school bus. Clark gets teased, and this takes maybe like 10 seconds, and all of a sudden they crash into a river. Within seconds, we went from the middle of a cornfield to a river. Like you could have at least shown them approaching the bridge in the initial overhead shot instead of going cornfield, interior, river.
That would have added more suspense too, if they'd done that, huh?
Yeah.
Again, this is not a well-structured movie. And yeah, Clark saves them, and we get a scene of that really is how this movie flows, though. And then we get a scene of. I was thinking that a lot during this movie, like while watching it. It's just, and then we get a scene of. Oh my god, get new editors, guys.
So it cuts to one of the mothers of the children that's on the bus saying that it's like an act of God that he was able to do it.
Oh. Does this mean to imply that Superman is Jesus?
How could you tell? My symbolism. It's so well constructed.
Yeah, I don't know how I caught that either. It's so subtle. It's so nuanced and well integrated into the story.
Coming from the same man who once said that his Batman was raped in prison.
Oh, God. I've had a feeling you were going to bring that up, but yeah. What the fuck is with that anyway? Like, why?
I don't know. It's like, why the fuck do we care?
It's not even just that, but when did Batman go to prison?
I guess he's thinking of in, like, Batman Begins when he's thrown in, like, that whole area. I don't know.
What the fuck? So, we get a scene of Jonathan Kent, played by Kevin Costner. He's lecturing the young Clark. He's saying maybe he should keep his powers a secret.
And then Clark gets, like, the biggest info dump of his life when Jonathan's like, hey, you're a space alien.
Oh, you're missing the infamous exchange between them that a lot of people have, like, just really attacked this movie for, where Clark says, "So you're saying I should just let them die?" And then Jonathan Kent says, "Maybe."
I didn't write that down. I forgot about it. Oh, God. Thanks, Jonathan. Very cool.
That's really good advice right there. Like, I get what they were trying to say, but it's so poorly executed. That being said, I do agree with him. Just let the kids fucking die. Somebody's gonna take that clip out of context. He tells Clark he's from space. He's an alien.
And he gives him a key that we saw Jor-El print off earlier.
He gives him a little guided tour of the spacecraft.
Yep. He also says that the key is made up of an element not on the periodic table.
Which is an interesting line right there.
It's kind of weird to think about, just knowing anything about chemistry. So that would not only be a huge breakthrough, it would also likely be highly radioactive.
He's not Superman. He's a radioactive man.
He's the I don't even remember the character's name. The sun guy from Superman 4.
You forgot? Oh my god! I can't believe you already forgot Nuclear Man's name.
Yeah. I should have guessed that it was Nuclear Man. Honestly.
Oh, it's so dumb. That movie was so dumb. I still think Nuclear Man, like, of all the villains on this podcast, I still think Nuclear Man's the worst one. Like, I just...
Yeah.
That's, like, the lowest bar right there. Like, he fucking powers down when he's not in contact with sunlight. Oh, my lord. What was it you said? You said he was an inverted vampire. But anyway, so yeah, again, more exposition. That's really this movie. It's just exposition.
Yeah.
Exposition. Like,
it's tell, don't show.
Exactly. That's, again, like, those are, like, the two, things that Zack Snyder goes for, is, style over substance, and tell, don't show. And then we get a scene of Clark. So
Clark is now working as like a waiter or something at a truck stop.
Oh, I thought it was like a bar or something.
Yeah, it's like a bar.
Which makes me think back to Superman 2 when he beats the shit out of that one guy in the diner.
Except this scene is a lot less fun than that one.
Well, no shit. Everything about this movie is less fun than that one. He doesn't say, I've never seen garbage eat garbage before. Instead, he just kind of lets the guy hassle him and doesn't do anything.
And then goes outside and impales his semi-truck on a telephone pole or something like that.
He just destroys the guy's truck. Is it just me, or is there barely a narrative here?
There really isn't at this point.
It's literally just, here's a scene, here's another scene, just... Like...
And it's trying to tell you what it can about Superman. And that one just feels really whiny.
All it really tells you is that he is depressed. I don't know. It's just like...
That's really it.
Oh my gosh. It literally is like the Supergirl format, just like...
It is.
And he hitchhikes. End scene. That's literally all that happens there.
Yeah.
He hitchhikes. And that's it. Oh, we forgot to mention Clark has a beard during this.
Oh, yeah.
His mustache and beard, which...
It'll be gone soon.
Yeah. And then we see Amy Adams as Lois Lane. At least I assume that's who she's playing. She doesn't really seem like Lois Lane in this movie.
Not really. She's not as jovial or jokey. She's like very serious and a little mean-spirited at points.
Like acting-wise, she's okay, but
Yeah, it's again a problem with the writing, I feel.
she's just not given any interesting dialogue to work with. Or really anything to... She doesn't do anything in this. She's just there to go, oh, Lois Lane is in this movie.
Basically.
You need Lois Lane in a Superman movie, there you go. Are you going to give her anything to do? No, okay. She has more to do in Superman 3, for fuck's sake. But anyway, she's at some research center for some reason.
And they reveal that they found an object buried under thousands of year-old ice.
This really feels like one of those movies that's like, things happen just because we need things to happen.
Yeah, we need the plot to eventually go here, so it's gonna go there.
Like, nothing, it doesn't feel like a natural progression, and whereas you look at, like, the Nolan films, like, it feels like there's a structure there.
Yeah.
Like, things happen here, and then they affect things there, and just, whereas here I'm just like, okay, it just feels like things are happening, and there's not really any reason for those things to happen. They just happen because if nothing happened, there wouldn't be a movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, they find the Fortress of Solitude.
Which turns out to be an old Kryptonian ship sealed under ice.
Okay. Yeah, Clark is there, of course, because Clark needs to be there, and he sees a hologram projection of Jor-El, just like in the other movies.
Yep. Except he's always just kind of walking away. In this scene, doesn't really interact with Superman at all. He looks back at him for like a second and then just walks on.
He is kind of an absentee father, to be fair. Kind of hard to take care of your kid when you're dead.
Yeah. At the same time, Lois
Although
is
what
walking
is
around.
interesting is that the hologram of Jor-El is able to, like, interact more with people than the hologram of Jor-El in the other movies. Because in the other movies, it's just a huge, like, inflated head of Marlon Brando, basically.
Yeah, and it feels mostly just like a recording.
Which that's what it is. It's a recording.
Yeah. In this one, he can just like talk to people, have full-on conversations.
Which doesn't
it's
make
like
any fucking sense. How the hell does a fucking hologram do that?
It's basically just like Jor-El's alive, essentially.
Like, did he like put part of his like essence into the like computer thing? I don't fucking know. I don't know how Kryptonian
And when you
technology
think
works.
about it, it's not even like on the ship. It's in that key that Clark is carrying around with him. Just contains the entirety of Jor-El, apparently.
I mean, flash drives are able to contain a lot of things, man.
That's a soul flash drive.
A soul flash drive. I'd like to get a flash drive that has the soundtrack to Flash Gordon on it. Listen to all those great Queen songs there. But yeah. And Lois Lane shows up and tries taking a picture of the robot, which destroys her camera and tries to attack her.
So Superman basically jumps in, finds out that Lois had a wound, and then cauterizes it using heat vision.
Or he could have just had Rambo pulls out some gunpowder and light it on fire. So. It's at this point in the movie I was like thinking, it feels like there's too much and too little going on at the same time. Like,
because all of this happens within like minutes, and it's super fast, and it's like, hold on. We just had like half an hour of incredibly slow scenes that didn't really amount to much, followed by the entire plot at once.
At the same time, there's also so much exposition, but it doesn't even develop the characters. It just like... It's like, oh, we need to explain this, but without any kind of like personality or anything. So,
Yeah.
did George Lucas help write this? So. And then Lois Lane talks to Morpheus, Perry White. And he does not believe Lois's story.
So instead she decides to leak it through some random contact of hers.
Yeah. That was another thing. Amy Adams does not make a convincing reporter in this movie.
Not really, no.
If she's a journalist, then Denise Richards is a nuclear physicist. Yeah, well, it's not quite as bad as that, but anyway, in the world, it's not enough. But... And then we get another. Oh, for fuck's sake! More exposition. Okay, Clark / Kal-El / Superman talks to the hologram of Jor-El, who basically tells him the history of Krypton. And oh my god, just while watching this, I was just thinking so much of Russell Crowe's dialogue is so expositive.
I basically ended up zoning out at this part. I was like, I don't care.
To be fair, Russell Crowe doesn't look like he cared either. So,
no.
Like, it's no wonder he looks so bored. Imagine having to memorize and recite this stuff.
And he basically ends up telling Clark that the human race is going to think of you as a god. Make of that what you will.
Wait a second. I know this one. Wait. Does this mean that Superman is the chosen one?
Is he a Christ-like figure? Is that what Zack Snyder could be hinting at? Very subtly?
Yeah, I actually do think I recall reading a Superman comic and there's like Bible verses in it, but...
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I don't know if I've read any Superman comics, if I'm being totally honest.
And so Jor-El finally decides to give Clark a suit.
Yep, he gives him a suit, but it doesn't have the red tights.
Nope.
And it's also really dark, too. It's like really dark.
Yeah.
Blue, yeah.
And it has the S, it has the Superman logo, which he explains stands for hope.
Oh, wait, I thought it stood for shithead, but anyway.
And I will
say again, the music's good in this movie. I think the music's good in this movie. In this scene, I thought the music's good. Yeah.
In this scene, it works. My opinion on the music is still it works in the scenes it's in, but it's nothing really that good.
You don't think it's anything to write home about? Okay.
No. Although I do admit, I do kind of like this scene of him trying to learn how to fly.
He's like, he's testing out his flying while Jor-El continues to
monologue, basically. But it's like the only time in the movie that we see Clark like enjoying himself, because he looks actually thrilled to start learning how to fly.
Yeah. He's like flying, but jumping. He's like jumping, basically. Yeah. The tagline of this movie should have been, "You will believe a man can jump like Mario." I don't even remember what... Did you even write anything down of like what Jor-El was monologuing about here?
No, because that's his whole speech of you'll be a god and you'll lead humanity to being another, like, Krypton, essentially.
Just like in the other fucking movies, except more pretentious. Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
And yeah, it feels like a lot of these scenes are just here to show off how cool the visuals are.
Yeah.
And how cool the character looks, rather than to further the story or character development.
We get one part right after this, though, that I actually do kind of enjoy. It's Lois trying to track down Clark Kent, visiting all these people, getting their opinions on who this mysterious Superman is.
This part did annoy me a little bit, not necessarily in the... It was more in the way it was executed, because there are so many fucking voiceovers in this movie.
Yeah.
And here, during this scene, we don't need it. You don't need it. You just...
Yeah.
All you need to do is just show Lois Lane interviewing people about Superman.
I do like the idea, though, of, like, seeing Lois trying to track down who it is. Yeah.
It's a good idea. Yeah, it is a good idea. I just don't think it's executed well.
And if you listen carefully, you can hear the one waitress from earlier call him a guardian angel.
Oh,
what
like,
could this
the
possibly
angel
mean?
Gabriel, who has connections to Jesus? This is... I should add... Wait, is Superman a Christ-like figure? I don't think I've asked that yet during this podcast, but is he in this movie?
Oh man, I wonder. I wonder. The allegory too thick for me.
But yeah, during this scene, it was just, again, like, Snyder, he thinks his audience needs to be spoon-fed all this stuff, when all you need to do, just show Lois Lane interviewing people. Don't...
Yeah, you don't need the voiceover, I agree with that.
Get rid of the fucking voiceover, okay? We get, oh my fucking god, another flashback.
So Lois catches up to...
How many flashbacks are in this movie?
So Lois ends up tracking down Clark, and he decides to tell her how his father died.
I'm laughing.
It's a very natural thing to do. Every time I meet someone, I tell them the story of how a family member died. It's just common conversation,
no.
right?
It's because I know what's coming. I know what's coming.
Oh.
I know what's coming. A lot of people have made fun of this scene.
It's... God.
Okay, so what happens is that, you have Clark in a car with his parents, and there's a tornado.
Real quick, can I complain about something?
You haven't been complaining at all during this podcast, so you might as well start here.
I absolutely hate this Clark that we see in this scene, because it's a very obviously just Henry Cavill, but the voice sounds so weird, like he's trying to pretend to be like 16 years old when he doesn't look it.
He looks like he's in his 20s, yeah.
It's so weird.
And not only that, but, like, you also have the part where Jonathan Kent, he's saving a car from a dog, sorry. He's saving a dog from a car. The more shaky cam and fast editing, because, again, Zack Snyder loves that. Hack Snyder loves that. And he refuses to let his son save him, just holds out his hand like, no, basically.
And he has the calmest tornado death ever. You just see, like, wind cover him up, and he's gone.
You would think he'd be a little bit more concerned about that, yeah.
Not only that, you'd expect to see, like, a body being flung at hundreds of miles an hour, not, like, standing still for a dramatic moment.
Just waiting for, like, a later scene in this movie to be like that part in Twister where the cow lands on the windshield. Except it's Kevin Costner instead.
Can I ask another question about this scene? Did no one, like, think to look up in the sky before this moment and say, there's a tornado forming right here.
I thought
should
you
we
were
go
gonna
somewhere
say
else?
It's a bird, it's a plane, but anyway. Which it is a plane, and that plane is carrying Dr. Bees.
Was there no, like, weather station that was like, guys, there's gonna be a tornado? Why are there so many people just right where the tornado appears?
To be fair, they do live out in the country.
But there's so many cars there, though.
Maybe the radio's broken, I don't know.
And this story moves...
this scene should... I'm sorry, Clark, he lets out another over dramatic yell, and that, it shouldn't have... There were parts of this movie that shouldn't have been funny, that kind of were to me, and that was like... Yeah. But yeah, people fucking hate this scene. Like, this scene usually gets, like, just eviscerated by people. It's just another scene in a movie that I'm already not enjoying. So. Oh god, there's more of this. Okay, so Lois talks to Clark in a cemetery and decides not to publish the story.
I wrote something down here during the whole graveyard scene.
Oh no. What
didn't
you
all I
write
wrote down was, can we speak up? They're whispering like this entire conversation.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't write this down, but yeah, I was noticing. I was like wondering, is there like a problem with the sound? Because I can barely hear.
It's so quiet.
Like, the action scenes and stuff are so fucking loud and shit, but yeah, like all the exposition scenes and stuff, oh my god, it's not very good sound mixing. That did help me, like, during some of the scenes with Jor-El, it helped me zone out a little bit, because I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Fuck off, just end the scene, just move on already. But yeah. And you were you watching this on a TV or a...
Yeah, I was watching it on a TV.
Okay, yeah, that and I noticed that, and I was just watching this on my computer.
And I have like speakers and stuff hooked up to my TV, and it's like
insane.
It's impossible to hear.
That's ridiculous. And then Zod shows up.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually do like how this scene begins.
Okay.
It's so incredibly creepy. In a better movie, I'm sure it would have been loved.
It could have, yeah. Because he shows up, he arrives in a ship, and they start sending out like a message on TVs all around the world.
And it starts off with "You are not alone."
Yeah,
it's basically like, hey,
good actually. Yeah, this could have been
It's a creepy scene, and it's done really well.
If this was in like a alien invasion movie, well, I guess this movie kind of is, but if that was in like Independence Day, yeah, that would have been pretty effective. And also his like form on the TV, it's like really,
it's hard to make out.
It's like kind of pixelated. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's all in black and white, and you can barely see like him moving around, essentially.
And that is interesting that for this movie, they decided to have Zod as the main villain.
It's an interesting way to start off your Superman series.
Yeah, because usually the Superman movies, they just regurgitate Lex Luthor over and over again. You know, just like, we get another flashback. Another one. As if we didn't have enough flashbacks in a 2.5-hour movie. All I can say is, dude, you don't know how to structure a movie. And young Clark in this flashback is trying to read Plato, but he gets attacked by some bullies. Probably because they like Aristotle more.
They push him into a fence and then see that there's like a bunch of people around them watching and then leave.
Oh, and then Kevin Costner shows up again and says, fighting back now won't help. Okay, are you gonna give him any advice?
Yeah, Jonathan Kent is a weird character in this one.
He's not very well written, is he?
He's not very upstanding.
He's just kind of, like, some people have, like, said he's, like, a sociopath in this, and I'm like, okay, that might be going a little bit too far, but he really is not a good dad in this. He's really just there to go, oh, you're Space Jesus.
Basically.
But don't save anyone, because they might find out you're Space Jesus. Great, so are those bullies gonna get reprimanded? No. I don't know. Maybe. Am I
Some
gonna
cut
drop?
back to the
Am I
present.
gonna drop out of school? Maybe. We've been going for a long time on this one, haven't we? Okay, I actually might have to take a bathroom break.
Alright.
Because we've been going for a long time on this one.
Yeah, we're like an hour 20 in, and we're just like at the first act.
Yep. Okay. Oh my god.
Welcome back.
Yeah, where were we?
So the government starts looking for Lois, as they've been told that she possibly knows the identity of the alien that the Kryptonians are looking for. And then, just in case you didn't get the Christ analogy any of the other times before...
This is where it's the most over, because the other times, I'll admit, during like some of the other ones, I was kind of spacing out, and occasionally I'd hear like, you'll be like a god to them and be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, of course, yes, Superman. And then I got to this scene, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
It just hits you like a truck.
God damn it.
So Clark has gone to a church where he confesses to the pastor that he's an alien, and it's who that, the other aliens are looking for.
Yeah. Which that's interesting that he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go get advice from
a pastor.
Yeah, rather than his hologram alien dad.
And the pastor ends up saying, his quote is, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. The trust part comes later. Just to really hammer home that Clark Kent, that Kal-El is a Christ figure.
Oh, really? I thought he was supposed to be Buddha or something. Oh, now it makes sense. Yeah, so he's dressed as Superman. And he decides to surrender.
On the condition that he's allowed to talk to Lois Lane.
Yeah, he gets to talk to Lois, and they have him in handcuffs, even though...
It's pretty useless, but it's just Clark signifying that he's surrendering to them, I guess.
Yeah. Because he's Superman. I mean, handcuffs aren't gonna do shit. And these two have just no chemistry. I'm sorry.
Nope.
I don't buy it. And she notices the S on his suit.
Which he explains is the symbol of hope, and not an S.
Just end scene. They really treat that scene like it's really huge, but it really doesn't amount to
nothing
shit.
really happens. It ends with Superman just saying, I'm going to turn myself over to Zod. And then it's done.
Yeah. And that's the scene that's shown in like all the trailers. I remember before I saw the movie, I saw the trailers, and that was one of the scenes.
Yep, because they always showed that line where he says it's not an S, it means hope.
Which I guess, I mean, except they said that earlier. Like, it's really just to reestablish that. That's something about this. Okay, this podcast has actually kind of, in some ways, it's ruined certain movies for me now, because now I'm just constantly thinking about, like, the structure of, like, like, scenes and, like, the storyline, you know? So whenever a movie is like this, it just infuriates me.
It's such a mess when you try to look at it beyond the surface level.
So Superman goes to confront the Kryptonians. And I'm also noticing this movie seems very indifferent to the people of Earth.
Incredibly so. We'll get to that more in a later scene.
Oh my god, yeah, we definitely will. But also just emotionally, everybody just seems kind of muted and distant in this.
Yeah,
like it's just, and it doesn't help that the fucking color grading is muted and distant too. So, but anyway, the Kryptonians take Superman and Lois Lane on their ship and go up into space. They give Lois Lane a breather, so This movie is paying a little bit more attention to physics than Superman 4 did. When they just had him flying around in space with Lacey. General Zod shows up again. And Superman starts struggling with breathing.
Because the ship is meant to replicate the environment on Krypton.
Yeah, it's the Kryptonian atmosphere, and he never adapted to it, so...
Nope.
It's kind of fucking him up. And then we get another flashback. For fuck's sake, I am sick of these fucking flashbacks.
I don't remember this flashback.
Or no, wait, Zod is in this flashback? What? Oh, okay. They film it like it's a flashback, but it's Zod explaining what happened.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Basically, the destruction of Krypton resulted in them being freed from the Phantom Zone, so we get more exposition. And basically, Zod is explaining that he's trying to bring Krypton back, but bringing Krypton back will result in...
the death of Earth.
Basically, yeah. We get a shot of Superman sinking into a mound of skulls.
Oh, yeah.
Which, okay, that's kind of a cool visual right there, I'll admit. Occasionally, Zack Snyder will come up with some interesting visual, but...
You throw enough stuff at the walls, eventually something's gonna stick.
They give Superman a shot of... something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. This movie somehow both over-explains things.
And then, like, it doesn't explain certain things.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, like you said, it is a mess. It is a real fucking mess. And then Lois Lane is talking to the hologram of Jor-El. So we get more of stone-faced Russell Crowe.
And he basically explains how to destroy the whole ship.
I'm gonna be honest. Okay, I think this scene is kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
Because he's explaining to Lois Lane how to get off this ship, and he's somehow activating stuff. Despite
that's right.
Of a dead guy, and also he's just he's like pointing the way and stuff, like he's the fucking cross, like a guy at a crosswalk or something. Like, I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but I think it's kind of funny, honestly. And he's dead. He's dead, and he's somehow helping her get away.
It's a very interactive hologram.
That's... Oh my god.
So it basically ends up changing the atmosphere of the ship to basically give Superman his powers back.
Yeah, Superman, they get away, basically. And the Kryptonians go to Superman's mom,
for really no other reason than to just intimidate her?
Yeah, their helmets have skulls on them. Wait, are they the baddies?
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? I'm so glad you got that reference. They could have had helmets with rats' anuses on them. And then another good instance of Michael Shannon overacting when he says, "Where is the Codex?" And then Superman shows up
and starts to cause a lot of problems for people.
He drags Zod across the ground while beating him up, and then
not just that, he crashes him through a grain elevator at one point. So, who knows how much money that one person lost just there, drags it through the middle of the cornfield, and then, like, lobs him into Smallville.
Yeah, they go to Smallville. Zod gets sensory overload when his helmet comes off.
Yep, making a call back to that earlier scene where Clark had sensory overload as a child.
And also the part where he has sensory overload on the ship.
Yep.
And Superman fights Ursa, or not Ursa.
I think in this movie she's called Feora.
Feora, whatever the fuck her name was. Lots of property damage, and I know what. Okay.
Oh, God.
You made fun of this part a lot. I know that on my previous podcast. So.
Yes. Superman basically tells everyone to head indoors. It's not safe out here. And then proceeds to pile drive the villains through like every single building in Smallville, causing untold amounts of property damage to absolutely everything, and further endangering the people that he told to go into these buildings.
Oh, that IHOP got destroyed, too.
IHOP got destroyed, Sears got destroyed.
Yeah. Now, okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a bit here. So, a lot of superhero movies have them destroying buildings and shit, so
yeah, but
why is it worse here?
It's worse here because Superman tells everybody to go inside before destroying the buildings.
Because he deliberately put them in danger, is what you're saying?
That's essentially what happened. He told them all to go inside, and then all of the fighting destroyed the buildings they were all in.
Because, yeah, it is pretty bad. Yeah, you don't see him run out either, so...
No!
For all we know, he just fucking killed a ton of people there. Whereas you look at, like, other ones where it will show them saving people, but you don't really see too many shots of Superman saving people during this part. I'd probably cut this movie more slack if Superman was... say more like Hancock, and he was just this drunk, incompetent superhero that caused property damage. And hey, say what you will about Hancock, he causes lots of property damage. He doesn't kill large numbers of civilians. But we do get one part where Superman saves a guy.
Yeah, I guess.
He falls out of a helicopter and he saves him.
It's like the most Superman thing to happen in this movie.
He just killed, like, how many people? Like...
It was probably around 30 people in the building that immediately got bulldozed.
So, like, 30... Okay, so he killed, like, 30 people, but he saved one guy.
It's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. The fake Ursa, she has this one line where she says, "A good death is its own reward," which, okay, I have to ask about this one. What the hell does that even mean?
I'm guessing it's supposed to be some sort of, like, warrior society thing where it's, like, die honorably in battle.
Okay. So I was like, they were treating it like it was this huge line, and I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Granted, it's Zack Snyder, so whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. The soldiers let Superman go. They say, "This man is not our enemy." Which, if you went to that IHOP or Sears, he probably is.
Yep.
And apparently we find out that the Codex was bound to Superman by Jor-El.
Yep, and how it's described is basically Superman carries the Codex within his cells, and it's implied that the Codex held all Kryptonian life, or something like that. And basically, if they want to revive the Kryptonian race, they need to go into Superman's cells.
Or they could just have Superman reproduce.
Yeah. It's weirdly... it's very strangely worded, I would say.
And there was one line that Zod says, which I think is kind of funny. He, like, asks if Superman still needs to be alive for them to extract it from his cells. And the guy says he doesn't.
And so with
That's
this...
such an evil line right there. It's like so over the top evil, but I kind of like it. Yeah.
And so at this, Zod decides to separate the ship into two pieces to basically deploy what's called the World Engine. It's what's going to basically terraform the planet to be more like Krypton.
And now this movie starts feeling like Independence Day.
Yeah.
There's some shots here that kind of look like shots from Independence Day. And also at this point in the movie I realized, it's amazing. I don't care about any of these characters.
No, I'd be fine if this place became another Krypton. There'd be more interesting stories we could focus on.
And Jor-El's hologram talks to Zod. Which, okay. We get some lines here I think are kind of funny, honestly. Like Zod says to Jor-El's hologram, "You haven't given up lecturing me, even in death." Which, that really is just what Jor-El does in these movies. He just, And there's another part where Jor-El says to, Jor-El's hologram says to Zod, "You're talking about genocide," and then Zod says, "Yeah, and I'm arguing genocide with a ghost." That's one of those just amazing, once in a lifetime lines that just...
Yeah.
I'm arguing genocide with a ghost. He fights Superman. He says, "You have Jor-El's memories. Can you experience his pain?" Just more over the top acting. Henry Cavill's yelling a lot, so he's getting in some overacting here. Also, I noticed. I was starting to realize something. So wait, Zod is trying to destroy Earth.
Yes.
To bring back Krypton. And Superman is trying to save Earth by destroying Krypton.
Yes.
So both of them are trying to commit genocide.
In slightly different ways.
If you destroy this ship, you destroy Krypton. Krypton had its chance. That's a direct quote from the movie.
That's right. He is just completely apathetic to Krypton. He does not care about it.
He's such a sociopath in this movie. You don't get any sense he actually cares about anyone in this.
And so Superman ends up...
don't you think maybe they should, find a better way to create Krypton?
Yeah.
Bring it back rather than just... Yeah.
And so Superman ends up coming up with...
Okay, your main hero and your main villain are both genocidal lunatics. Who am I supposed to root for? Oh, you also forgot, Lois Lane is in this movie.
Oh, that's right.
Superman, he kisses Lois Lane. Because they had such great romantic chemistry in previous scenes.
You can't have a Superman movie if Superman does not kiss Lois.
I'm surprised it wasn't a memory-wiping kiss. And yeah, Superman encounters Zod. Honestly, at this point, I was feeling more sorry for Zod than Superman.
So I think I mentioned this earlier.
Zod's entire planet was destroyed, and he was trying to bring it back. And then Superman just reduced it to ashes. Oh, we get another great line delivery. "My soul, that is what you have taken from me."
This was about the point where I gave up on keeping notes. I was like, I don't care about this movie anymore. Just let it end.
You already didn't care about it, so you just reached your breaking point, You have, different phases of not caring, and this was, negative neutral not caring, I guess. of Superman has one line, which I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. He says, "You're a monster, Zod. I'm gonna stop you." Voldemort, you are a very bad and mean wizard. Is basically what I thought when I heard that one. Hell, that fucking AI generated Harry Potter chapter made more sense than this did.
And it escalates to Zod removing his armor and basically being in a suit similar to what Superman's wearing.
Yeah, he uses laser eyes, although he seems to be having trouble controlling them, so
Yep.
I guess he's more like Non then in that case. And then Zod says, "There's only one way this ends, Cal. Either I die or you do.
There's one way this ends. Let me give you two options."
Oh my god.
Ugh.
Oh, fuck, I bumped my head on the couch on accident. Damn it. Oh my god.
So this leads to a massive fight across Metropolis, where just everything is being obliterated. And as we find out in a later movie, Bruce Wayne's best friend dies.
Fucking Superman. But yeah, but it's okay, because their mom has the same first name.
I can't stand these movies.
Yeah, and there's lots of buildings and cars getting destroyed. Lots of people dying, I assume. There's lots of property damage.
And then we get the creme de la creme of this movie.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I was about to move on to the greatest scene of this movie.
Okay, well, there was one part I wanted to mention before we got to that.
Right.
It was yet another line from Zod. He says, "I was bred to be a warrior, Cal. Trained my entire life to master my senses. Where did you train? On a farm?"
that is actually a pretty good line.
Which, honestly, that reminded me of a line from Battlefield Earth. While you were still learning how to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies. And oh my god, these action scenes are going on so long.
And there's like no substance to it. It's just throw them through one building, throw them through another building.
It's so, oh my god, it's so over the top. And yeah, then we get to
We get the greatest scene of the movie.
Superman's trying to stop Zod from killing people in a, was it like a subway or a train
I think it was in
stop?
a building. Yeah, like a train station, I think.
I don't know this movie. I don't care.
And Zod goes, "If you love these people so much, then you can mourn for them," as he fires laser eyes at this family.
And then he snaps Zod's neck.
You know how, like, Superman is basically invincible?
Yeah.
Couldn't he have just covered Zod's eyes with his hand or something? Like, literally anything before resorting to snapping his neck?
But also, it's just, okay, because he's Superman. Like, you're telling me he couldn't have just moved him away from there? Away from those people? Maybe taken this fight to the Fortress of Solitude like he did in the second Superman movie? Instead of all this fucking property damage and shit, I don't know. But yeah, he snaps Zod's neck, which is supposed to be this huge, like, dramatic scene.
And it became, like, the most hated of the movie.
It's so laughable, too. It's like, just... some people, they're just like, oh yeah, it's because Superman killed someone. I'm like thinking, if he could just snap his neck, why didn't he fucking do it earlier or something? I don't know. Just like, he's fucking Superman. I mean,
and thankfully,
a really over the top yell, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's just.
And thankfully, we're at the end of the movie.
It's ridiculous. And also, okay, another thing, the main character. just committed genocide.
Basically, he wiped out the remnants of Krypton. Which, when you think about it in terms of a Superman story, that would be huge. Which is why we put it in the first one. No build up to it.
And then in his second movie he dies, and then in his third movie they bring him back to life.
Yep, just so he can be even more of a Christ figure. So in our wrap up, we find out that the U.S. military is trying to spy on Superman. He breaks their drone and says, "You guys need to trust me."
Yeah, and like somebody says to him, "That was a $12 million piece of hardware," and he says, "It was." Which honestly reminded me of a quote from the Pink Panther Strikes Again, where Inspector Clouseau, he like destroys a piano, and a woman says, "But that's a priceless Steinway," and he says, "Not anymore." Superman has flashbacks, because again, we haven't had enough of those in this movie. I didn't even write down what that fucking flashback was, jeez. I didn't even bother, I didn't care at this point, I guess. Superman goes to work at the Daily Planet as Clark Kent. Oh, that's right, Clark Kent is in this movie. I forgot.
And Lois recognizes him. And thank God it's the end of the movie.
That was such a poorly told origin story.
Yeah, no, that was pretty bad.
My biggest disappointment with this movie, though, is that when I saw it, based on the title, I thought it was going to be about Stalin. And he never shows up, so yeah. Okay, if I'm going to compare this, I will say this is better than Batman v Superman. I'd rather watch this.
I honestly would rather watch Batman v Superman again than watch Man of Steel again.
But Justice League was a little more enjoyable than this. Justice League was, well, the theatrical cut. I never saw the Zack Snyder cut, and I have no plans to. All three of them suck, though. They're all bad.
Yeah.
Justice League at least has Jason Momoa in it, though, so there's that. This movie, though, it tries so hard to be serious and dramatic, and it just becomes over the top and laughable.
It's a mess. It's not the worst movie, in my opinion, that we've done on this podcast, but it's down there.
Would you rather watch this or Batman Forever?
Oh, God. That's a hard one. I'd probably watch this again, even though I don't want... you know what? Actually, at the very least, Batman Forever will be done before this movie is.
Batman Forever has Jim Carrey in it. Val Kilmer. Okay. Val Kilmer. It has Val Kilmer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd probably watch Batman Forever. Val
Kilmer is better than Henry Cavill is in this movie. Batman's a better written character than Superman is in this movie. It's shorter. I don't dislike Batman Forever as much as you do, if I'm being honest. I don't think it's good, but I would rather watch it than...
Yeah.
I would much rather watch it than this one. Hell, maybe I should just watch that one right now. But anyway, just to compare. To paraphrase a quote from Macbeth, Man of Steel is a tale told by an idiot. Full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Yeah, it's... I don't even know what else to say for my final thoughts, except just, it's bad.
I have quite a bit to say. This movie does have some enjoyable moments, mostly courtesy of Michael Shannon's scenery-chewing performance as General Zod. I'm sorry. I rewatched that clip of him saying, "I will find him," over and over again. Like, that scene kills me. It's so funny. I think the technical elements are, well, some of them. I think the special effects are good. I like the score by Hans Zimmer. You know, it's a really bombastic score. It gives it a grand, epic feel, even if the story doesn't. The problem here is the characters,
The writing,
the dialogue, and the editing. It is so poorly structured. Some parts are almost incomprehensible. Henry Cavill, he honestly, he makes for a very uninteresting Superman.
Yeah.
And Clark Kent. He looks like Superman, but he really does not feel like Superman. He's honestly kind of a sociopath in this. He just doesn't seem like he gives a shit about anything. Hell, this is probably a better adaptation of Friedrich Nietzsche's Superman than the comic character. Did he even have a fucking character arc in this?
Not really. He went from sad boy to being a strong sad boy.
That's a good way to put it. There's just no emotional depth or character development in this. Like, the dialogue is just expository. It lacks personality. And also, this is a almost 2.5 hour movie. Which usually wouldn't be a problem. Sometimes movies need to be 2 hours to get the story out, you know. This movie does not utilize its runtime well.
No.
It drags. There are so many scenes that did not need to be here. That, like, could have been cut and just don't add anything. It is so damn slow in some parts. Superman, no chemistry with Lois Lane. None. There were no sparks flying there. Granted, she doesn't meet Clark Kent until the very, very end of the movie. So, but still, I mean, even in, like, the next movie, I still don't get any sense of chemistry between them. Christ, Brandon Routh and Kate Bosworth probably had more chemistry as Superman and Lois than these two do. Which I don't think it's... I don't think it was casting. It was just... It's not written well.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe, he's phoning it in.
Yeah.
Then again, so was Brando. But at least Brando seemed concerned that the planet was being destroyed.
Yeah. Russell Crowe was just entirely apathetic during this.
He's just so indifferent to everything. This really wastes a good cast. Like, the only actor that I really get anything out of in this is Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon's just... Right. Oh, Lawrence Fishburne's wasted. He doesn't do anything in this.
Yeah, agreed.
He doesn't do anything in this movie. I will say, for being a Zack Snyder movie, this doesn't overuse slow-mo as much as...
Yeah, I actually looked this up. If you were to watch 300 with all the slow motion scenes played at normal speed, the movie would be 14 minutes shorter.
Oh, wow. They still could have released it in theaters then. Oh my lord. And there are interesting ideas here that they could have explored, like...
They're just not fleshed out as well as they should be.
Jor-El's like saying his son will be like a god to the people of Earth, but, you know, which, interesting idea, but they don't explore that.
No, they just show him breaking a bunch of buildings.
They just, and also just throwing in heavy-handed Jesus imagery here and there. And this movie, it thinks it's this huge, profound, groundbreaking movie when it uses so many cliches in the book. It's just, Superman's origin story is just, it's done in such a matter-of-the-fact way.
Yeah.
I feel like what happened, is Zack Snyder, he wanted to do, like, Batman Begins or Casino Royale, where we got this character, let's do a more gritty, serious backstory movie for him, you know. with Superman. Oh man, then no, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's a mess on every possible level that it could have been.
One thing I did think of is that I think is kind of funny is how Christian Bale's Batman tries really hard not to break his rule of killing people.
Superman does not.
He doesn't even try. Like, really, and you'd think it would be the other way around, too. So, okay, I was gonna ask, because in the Superman 4 podcast, you said you didn't know which was worse between Man of Steel and Superman 4. Did you figure it out by rewatching this by any means?
So they're both very bad movies, but they're bad in slightly different ways. Because it's basically like, do you want your horrible Superman movie to be campy, or do you want it to be depressing? And so I feel like if I had to watch another one again, I would watch Superman 4 over watching Man of Steel.
It is shorter.
Yeah.
As bad as that movie is, it's sincere.
Yeah.
It's sincere. Christopher Reeve, even though the script is just shit, just stupid, doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, Nuclear Man, what kind of a villain is that? At least Christopher Reeve is charismatic. He's still really good as Superman. And they at least knew, okay, if we're gonna make a bad movie, at least we won't make it a 2-hour bad movie.
Yeah.
Because they cut out so much shit from that fucking movie. So you think Man of Steel is worse, basically?
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I agree with you. Because even though on a technical level, Superman 4 is worse because of just how like unfinished the whole thing is. But if if Superman 4 was given a better budget, it would probably be better than Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Like I would rather watch, even in its just botched form, I would rather watch Superman 4 than Man of Steel.
Exactly.
Like with Man of Steel, I mean, aside from maybe a few clips of Michael Shannon, I don't really have any intention to watch it again.
Yeah, no, I don't want to watch this ever again.
Certainly not any of the scenes with Superman. And I've seen it twice. That's enough for me. Another thing you said in the Superman 4 podcast, you said you're going to complain about Man of Steel until the day you die. Does that statement still remain true?
Yes, it does. Especially now that it's fresh on my mind, I'm going to keep complaining about it even harder.
We're going to have to dedicate half of our Evil Dead remake podcast to ranting about Man of Steel.
Man of Steel Part 2.
Okay, so do you have any like final thoughts on this, or?
My only final thought is that this movie is just a disaster. It's horrible. It's depressing. There's no hope when supposedly the Superman character is built on hope. They even say in this movie several times the S stands for hope.
Yes. But there's okay. I am so glad you brought that up. Yeah, because they even say in the fucking movie itself that he's a symbol of hope.
And what we get is this dark, dreary, depressing movie.
Like a symbol of fucking hope. Where?
It's just a mess. It looks disgusting. The color is just awful.
Oh, that color grading. Yeah, that's like I've mentioned before. I get annoyed with. That's one of the reasons why Zack Snyder movies annoy me so much, is the fucking color grading. Do you have anything you want to say about Batman v Superman or Justice League, since we're not doing podcasts on those?
Alright, Batman v Superman is also a mess, but I get more enjoyment out of it because it reaches that special level of stupidity. Like Lex Luthor leaving a jar of his own piss and labeling it Granny's peach tea or whatever
What?
on the senator's bench. You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. I've tried to forget as much as I can about that movie.
And then Justice
I do
League.
remember when he's like trying to feed them like was it like Mike and Ike's or jelly beans or something?
Oh yeah.
Oh, fuck it. I remember Ben Affleck kills a bunch of people. I will say in Batman v Superman's favor, Ben Affleck, acting-wise, is not bad in it.
Yeah.
It's just a really shitty version of Batman. He's basically Frank Miller's Batman in that one.
And then I just really don't have anything to say about Justice League. I don't remember either version of that movie too well.
I remember more of Justice League than I do of Batman v Superman, honestly, because like I mentioned before, I saw it in the theater, so
Yeah.
it was a better experience, at least. I mean, the chairs, we got really good seats. They're really, really nice seats. I remember just sitting there, I'm like, even if the movie sucks, hey, I get to sit in this nice chair for 2 hours. Drinking a pop. Justice League was a mess, and it became way more apparent to me after hearing about like the production of it. Why? These movies are so fucking dumb. That's the thing. They try to be so serious and depressing, but they're so fucking
it's just
stupid.
edgy garbage.
They're so stupid. It's like a teenager's version of like dark and like serious. What the hell was that one line in Batman v Superman? Do you bleed?
Do you bleed? You will.
I ain't got time to bleed.
So I also just want you to think for a second. I know I've said this before, but the studio that said Man of Steel is good enough, that said Batman v Superman is good enough, that said Justice League is good enough, that said Suicide Squad was good enough, canceled Batgirl. How bad is this movie? How bad is this movie?
Like, yeah, that's a good question. Like, because they said they canceled. Part of why they canceled it was because of how bad the test screenings went. And I'm like, good lord, how bad were those test screenings? Did they like show them like the fucking Star Wars holiday special? Like, they can't. Yeah, they canceled Batgirl, but they decided to let these get released. And not only that, they decided, oh, who should we have directed? Oh yeah, Zack Snyder. Because his track record is so...
it's perfect.
Because, I mean, okay, Watchmen, yeah, Watchmen is dark and serious and, like, gritty, but at least there's a little bit more nuance, and it makes sense for those characters. It does not make sense for fucking Superman. And of course, some people are going to be like, oh, what do you know? You don't read the comics, which, okay, but I know a little bit about Superman, and I'm pretty sure he's not a genocidal lunatic.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to get to the trivia?
Actually, I wanted to know if we could do the trivia tomorrow. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore today.
If you want, I could cut it, cut some of these out. I'll make it really quick.
Sure. Then.
So trivia. Roger Ebert died 2 months before this movie was released, so he was spared seeing it. Richard Roper, who replaced Gene Siskel on their show after Siskel died, had this to say about the movie. We're plunged back into a mostly underwhelming film with underdeveloped characters and supercharged fight scenes that drag on and offer nothing new in the way of special effects creativity.
Yep.
Okay, what do you want? I guess Leonard Maltin gave this.
Bomb. Please tell me he gave it bomb.
That's what you're guessing? You're guessing he gave us the lowest score?
Yes.
No.
What was it?
He gave it 2.5 stars.
Really?
Which is the same rating he gave Batman and Robin, by the way. And higher than the rating he gave The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Not as good as what he gave
Batman Forever.
Okay,
Why is he like this?
it doesn't sound like he did, actually. I mean, because reading this review, this is actually pretty on the money in some regards. Okay. He called it a non-stop demolition derby that resembles a loud, raucous Transformers movie and leaves its character on the back burner. Sorry, leaves its characters on the back burner.
Yeah.
A good cast, led by the finely chiseled Cavill, can only do so much with this material.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a 2.5-star movie.
Sounds worse than a 2.5-star movie. Maybe his finger slipped.
Yeah, maybe it was like 1.5 stars. I have heard they were thinking of making Man of Steel 2, although, will they? I don't know.
Probably not at this point. Didn't Cavill drop out?
I don't know. Either way, I'm not going to watch it. Okay. Other directors that were considered. Matthew Vaughn was at one point wanting to do an 8-hour Superman trilogy.
Huh.
Sort of like Lord of the Rings. Is that the guy who did the Kingsman? Yeah, Layer Cake, Stardust, Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and yeah, the Kingsman movies. He did all 3 of them. Know how that works for Superman, but probably better than Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
It would have been long Superman movies, though. Other directors included McG, because Terminator Salvation was such a success. I would rather watch Terminator Salvation than this movie.
I still have not had the stomach to watch that yet.
You haven't seen it?
No.
I don't think it's that bad, honestly. Like, it's not good, though. It's not very good. And Guillermo del Toro. Huh.
That could have been interesting.
That would have been a weird Superman movie.
Yeah. You probably would have gotten Bizarro.
Yeah, I would have turned Superman into the Gill Man or something. Fucking creature from the Black Lagoon. The Shape of Water, but with Superman. Other actors considered to play Superman include... oh, good lord, I'm not going to be able to pronounce some of these names. Tyler... Hoechlin? I don't fucking know. But apparently he played Superman in some of the CW shows, which is interesting.
Huh.
Matthew Good. Armie Hammer.
That name sounds familiar.
He was in Lone Ranger and Call Me By Your Name.
Well, he was in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. movie from 2015.
Which also had Henry Cavill in it.
Yeah.
And I've heard they want, like, Cavill's, like, one of the considerations to be the next James Bond.
He definitely looks the part.
Based off of that movie, I can kind of see why.
Yeah.
Joe Manganiello. Fuck, I don't know how to pronounce that. But he played Flash Thompson in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Oh!
And then he gets to play Superman.
He was apparently also Deathstroke in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Viggo Mortensen and Daniel Day-Lewis were considered to play Zod.
That would have been interesting with Vigo.
Yeah, it would have been a much more serious performance, I think.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got. I love Viggo Mortensen, but I'm glad they got Michael Shannon because, I mean, this movie would have been almost unwatchable if he wasn't in this. Daniel Day-Lewis. Let's see. Oh man, that would have been a really intense General Zod. Then I'm basically just imagining his Bill the Butcher performance, except in this movie. So, yeah.
I'm basically imagining Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, yeah. Oh, man. He's a really versatile actor, though, so he probably, I mean, it wouldn't have saved the movie, but hey, it would have had a little more gravitas, maybe. Sean Penn and Clive Owen were considered to play Jor-El.
Huh.
I don't know about Sean Penn.
Yeah, no, that one's kind of wigging me out a little bit there.
Sean Penn, I could see as General Zod, but not as...
Yeah, not Jor-El.
Clive Owen, was he in, like, Children of Men or something? I think. Yeah, and Sin City, okay. Kevin Costner and Russell Crowe had both previously played Robin Hood. So I guess that means both of Superman's dads in this are Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. That's pretty interesting.
What, is he also related to Errol Flynn or something? Okay. I don't know. I guess if you want, like, trivia for, like, Batman v Superman or something.
Nah, I'm good. Although I do have one piece of trivia from this movie.
Okay.
So it's actually yet another Jesus reference, trying to compare him to Superman. They mentioned that Superman has been on Earth for 33 years, which is the estimated amount of time that, Jesus was alive before he was crucified.
They didn't crucify Superman.
That's not until the next movie.
Kind of, yeah. But, okay, since we're not doing trivia for, the next two, I wanted to... I found Leonard Maltin's review for Batman v Superman, and okay, if you weren't satisfied with him not being harsh enough on Man of Steel, he fucking hated Batman v Superman.
That's good, at least.
He hated it. Like, it is... He titled his review Batman and Superman versus the Audience. He said it was built on the foundation of a bad idea and goes downhill from there. I feel sorry for the kids and families who will be sucked into seeing this blockbuster. Parents will have a hard time explaining the grimly dark, confusing story to their children. Don't kids deserve to cheer for a superhero in this kind of movie? Granted, he didn't like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Director Zack Snyder and company don't seem to think so. And then he ends his review with this. My daughter just asked me if there was anything I did like about Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, and I had to answer honestly, no. I'm like, goddamn, man. I don't know a way to give Justice League at all. So I assume he gave that a bomb rating then.
I would assume so. I would hope so.
Justice League. It sounds like he liked that one.
Really?
The film isn't perfect, and with so many details and characters bordering on the edge of clutter is ripe for nitpicking, but on the whole, I had a good time.
No! How dare he enjoy things?
To be fair, Justice League was better than the two movies that came before it. I mean, that's
fair.
not saying much, but...
I guess with that, we'll be back next time with the Evil Dead remake.
Yes, yep.
Andy Griffith, go.
Yeah, the Evil Dead remake, a less scary movie than Masked.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.